What became crucial for Plato, as we saw, was argumentation. But for Antisthenes, the actual confrontation with Socrates was more important. Both Plato and Antisthenes are interested in the transformation that Socrates is affording. Plato sees this happening through argumentation. Antisthenes sees it as happening through confrontation. And you can see how they're both right. Because in Socratic Elenchus, Socrates comes up and he argues with you, but of course he's also confronting you. We talked about how he's sort of slamming the actual revolution into your face. So, Antisthenes has a follower, Diogenes, and Diogenes epitomizes this confrontation. And by looking at the kinds of confrontation, we can start to see what the followers of Antisthenes are doing. So Diogenes basically does something analogous to provocative performance art. He gets in your face in a way that tries to provoke you to realizations, those kinds of insights that will challenge you. He tries to basically create aporia in you, that shocked experience that you had when confronting Socrates that challenges you to radically transform your life. But instead of using argumentation and discussion as Socrates did and Plato picked up on, they were really trying to hone in on how to try to be as provocative as possible. Right? So famously, you know about one of these. It became a card in the tarot, and it became an album cover for Led Zeppelin. You have the man, right, with the lamp, wandering about, the hermit with the lamp. Well, this is Diogenes. He walked into the marketplace carrying around a lamp and looking and looking and looking and looking. And everybody said, well, what are you looking for? And then he just kept looking and looking. What are you looking for? What is it? What is it? And then he said, I'm looking for one honest man. And then everybody got pissed off at him because they are so intrigued by all this looking and questing, and then when it comes something that, right, and they're pissed off because they know he's right, because they're in the marketplace and everybody's lying and cheating and stealing, right? But they don't want to know that. They don't want to pay attention to that, right? Now, that sounds sort of, yeah, that's kind of cool and courageous. Yeah, but Diogenes does other things that you might not find so cool or courageous. Well, they're courageous at least, but you don't find them cool. Diogenes also famously came into the center of the marketplace and masturbated in public. And we're all going like, ew, ew, right? How are these two things possibly related? Well, here's how they're related. Right? The group of people that start to take shape in this tradition are called the Cynics. It's not our modern meaning of the word, so I'm going to use a capital C because this just means, being suspicious that everybody has an ulterior motive or a secret agenda. That's not what is meant here. This means actually living like a dog, because Diogenes also famously lived outside of Athens in a barrel. So let me tell you one more story, and then we'll try to connect all of them. So Alexander, the future emperor of the world, on his ascendance into godhood, comes to visit Diogenes. So you can imagine, here's the whole, all of this entourage, and here comes Alexander to visit Diogenes, and he comes up to Diogenes and he says, I can give you half of the world. What do you want? And all Diogenes says is, could you move a little to the left? You're blocking my sunlight. So why is he living in a barrel? Why is that his answer to Alexander? Why does he look for one honest man? Why does he masturbate in public? What is going on? Well, the Cynics had a particular understanding of the Hellenistic domicile. They had the idea that what causes us to suffer isn't what we set our heart on. It's not just the particular that we set our heart on our life and we're afraid of losing it in death. We can set our heart on all kinds of things that ultimately will cause us to suffer. Why? Well, their idea is when we set our hearts on the wrong things, those things will fail us, and that's how we suffer. You can see some similarities to some aspects of Buddhism and to some of the asceticism that the Buddha first practiced himself. So the Cynics came to the conclusion that what the Hellenistic period was showing is that many of the things that we take for granted, and think about what that word means, we take them as being part of the structure of reality, are actually not fundamentally real. They don't have staying power. They're not permanent. They're actually man-made. They are historically, culturally dependent, and they are temporary. And when we set ourselves on these things, the current of events can easily and readily wash them away, and then we are left bereft. Our hearts are torn from us, and that is how we experience domicide. Okay, so what should we do then? Well, you should learn, not just acquire a set of beliefs. Diogenes isn't just believing things, he's living in a certain place in a certain way. Right? You should learn how to set your heart on the kinds of things that are not man-made, are not contingent, that will not be swept away by events. Well, what are those kinds of things? Well, one are the laws of the natural world. So this is why Diogenes lives in a barrel. He wants to live as much as he can like an animal, in one sense. In another sense, he doesn't want to live like an animal at all. But he wants to live as much by natural law as opposed to man-made law. He doesn't want to be invested in man-made cultural institutions or practices, cultural, political value systems, because those will end. And then if we have set our heart upon them, our hearts will be broken. So you want to, as much as you can, live according to the patterns of nature, because those are not man-made, and those will not disappear with the change in history or culture. Now, if it was just that, then of course Diogenes would just live like an animal. But the Cynics also said, in addition to natural law, there are moral laws. There are moral laws as to what is a proper way to be a good